Have you ever noticed that some women never seem to chase anyone? Not after an argument, not after mixed signals, and not even after someone they genuinely care about begins pulling away? To many people, this behavior looks cold. Some call it pride. Others assume she's playing hard to get or pretending not to care. But when it comes to Sigma females, the truth is usually much deeper. A Sigma female doesn't avoid chasing people because she lacks emotions. In fact, she often feels things more deeply than most people realize. She forms meaningful connections, values loyalty, and hopes to build relationships that last. The difference is that she has learned one life-changing lesson. Real relationships should never require one person to constantly pursue the other. She believes that genuine interest doesn't have to be forced, respect shouldn't have to be begged for, and love should never feel like a competition where one person is always trying harder than the other. This mindset often confuses people. Some assume she's emotionally unavailable. Others believe she's too independent to let anyone get close. But those who truly know her understand that she isn't afraid of love. She's afraid of losing herself while trying to earn it. She's willing to make an effort. She's willing to communicate. She's willing to fight for a healthy relationship. What she refuses to do is chase someone who has already decided to walk away. Today, we're exploring 10 powerful reasons why Sigma females never chase anyone. By the end of this video, you'll understand that what many people mistake for emotional distance is often one of the strongest forms of self-respect. Let's begin. 1. She believes. Mutual effort is the foundation of every relationship. The Sigma female understands that every healthy relationship is built by two people, not one. Whether it's a friendship, a romantic relationship, or even a family bond, she believes effort should naturally flow in both directions. She has no problem reaching out first. She doesn't mind planning a date, checking in on someone, or starting meaningful conversations. But she also notices whether those efforts are returned. If she's always the one sending the first message, making the first call, or trying to solve every disagreement, she begins asking herself an important question. Why am I carrying this relationship alone? Many people ignore this imbalance because they're afraid of losing someone. The Sigma female sees it differently. She believes that constantly chasing another person only creates an unhealthy dynamic where one person becomes responsible for keeping the relationship alive. Over time, that imbalance creates resentment. Instead of feeling appreciated, she begins feeling taken for granted. Rather than continuing to chase, she quietly steps back, not to punish anyone, not to play games, but to see whether the other person genuinely values the relationship enough to meet her halfway. If they do, the connection grows stronger. If they don't, she has her answer. 2. She knows her worth isn't determined by someone else's attention. One of the biggest differences between a Sigma female and someone who constantly chases people is where they find their confidence. Many people unknowingly connect their self-worth to how much attention they receive. A delayed text message can ruin their day. Someone losing interest makes them question their value. Rejection feels like proof that something is wrong with them. The Sigma female has worked hard to break that mindset. She understands that attraction is personal, compatibility is rare, and not every connection is meant to last. Because of this, she doesn't interpret rejection as a judgment of her value. She sees it as information. Maybe the timing wasn't right. Maybe the personalities didn't match. Maybe the other person simply wanted something different. Whatever the reason, she refuses to let one person's opinion define how she sees herself. This quiet confidence changes everything. Instead of desperately trying to convince someone to stay, she focuses on continuing to build a life she's proud of. Ironically, this self-respect often makes her more attractive. Not because she's trying to create mystery, but because genuine confidence is naturally appealing. 3. She pays attention to actions. More than words. One reason Sigma females stop chasing people so quickly is that they've learned an important lesson. Words are easy. Promises are easy. Real effort is much harder. Almost anyone can say they care. Almost anyone can promise forever. But consistency is what truly reveals someone's intentions. The Sigma female quietly watches for patterns. Does this person make time for her? Do they keep their promises? Do they communicate honestly? Do their actions match what they say? If the answer is consistently no, she doesn't waste months trying to change them. She accepts what their behavior is already telling her. Many people continue chasing because they fall in love with potential. The Sigma female prefers reality. She would rather accept a difficult truth today than spend years believing comforting excuses. This doesn't make her cynical. It makes her realistic. She understands that the healthiest relationships rarely require endless guessing. When someone genuinely values you, their effort usually makes that clear. 4. She refuses to beg for basic respect. Respect isn't something the Sigma female believes should be negotiated. It should exist naturally between two people who genuinely care about each other. She doesn't expect perfection. She understands that everyone makes mistakes. Misunderstandings happen. People become stressed. Communication sometimes breaks down. She's willing to forgive honest mistakes. What she's unwilling to do is repeatedly ask someone to treat her with basic kindness. If someone constantly ignores her boundaries, dismisses her feelings, or only shows affection when it's convenient, she doesn't respond by trying harder. She responds by paying closer attention. The more someone forces her to fight for basic respect, the more she realizes they may never have intended to give it freely. Eventually, she reaches a point where silence becomes more powerful than argument. Instead of pleading to be valued, she quietly removes herself from situations where respect has disappeared. To some people, this seems harsh. To her, it's simply protecting her dignity. She knows that once respect is lost, chasing rarely brings it back. 5. She has learned that chasing often pushes people further away. Experience has taught many Sigma females something that isn't always easy to accept. The harder you chase someone who is pulling away, the further they often run. When people feel pressured, they sometimes become even more distant. When they sense desperation, they may begin taking the relationship for granted. The Sigma female refuses to build love on pressure. If someone needs space, she gives it. If someone loses interest, she doesn't force conversations that no longer happen naturally. If someone chooses to leave, she doesn't spend months trying to convince them otherwise. That doesn't mean she feels nothing. In reality, walking away can be incredibly painful. She may cry in private. She may replay conversations in her mind. She may wonder whether things could have ended differently. But she also understands something many people learn only after years of heartbreak. You cannot force someone to choose you. Real commitment is voluntary. Real love is mutual. And real respect cannot be chased into existence. Rather than exhausting herself trying to hold on to someone who is already slipping away, she chooses to invest that energy where it has the greatest chance to grow, within herself. Because she believes the right people won't require endless pursuit. They'll choose to walk beside her without being asked. 6. She protects her peace more than her pride. People often assume Sigma females walk away because they're too proud to fight for someone, but pride usually isn't the reason. Peace is. The Sigma female knows the difference between a relationship that challenges her to grow and one that constantly drains her emotionally. If every conversation turns into an argument, if every disagreement becomes a battle, if she constantly feels anxious, confused, or emotionally exhausted, she begins asking herself a simple question. Is this relationship bringing peace into my life, or is it taking it away? That question changes everything. She's willing to work through problems with someone who communicates honestly and genuinely wants to improve. But she's unwilling to spend months chasing someone who keeps creating the same problems without taking responsibility. She has learned that love should feel safe, not like a daily emotional struggle. Protecting her peace doesn't mean she has stopped caring. It means she has finally started caring about herself too. And once she experiences the calm that comes from healthy relationships, or from being happily single, she becomes far less willing to tolerate emotional chaos. 7. She understands that love cannot be forced. One of the hardest lessons in life is accepting that no amount of effort can make someone love you if they have already made up their mind. Many people spend months or even years trying to convince someone to stay. They send long messages. They make endless promises. They sacrifice their own happiness, hoping the relationship will return to what it once was. The Sigma female understands that genuine love doesn't work that way. She believes love is a choice made freely every day. If someone has emotionally checked out, chasing them usually delays the inevitable rather than changing the outcome. That realization is painful, but it's also liberating. Instead of trying to control another person's feelings, she focuses on what she can control: her own healing, her own growth, and her own future. She knows that the right relationship will never require constant persuasion. It will be built on two people who choose each other willingly. 8. She would rather lose someone than lose herself. Perhaps the greatest reason Sigma females never chase anyone is that they know what happens when people forget themselves inside a relationship. They've seen people abandon their hobbies, ignore their dreams, accept disrespect, change their personalities, all for the hope that someone else will stay. The Sigma female refuses to pay that price. She values relationships deeply, but she values her identity just as much. She wants a partner who appreciates who she already is, not someone who expects her to become someone completely different. If staying in a relationship requires sacrificing her confidence, her independence, or her values, she eventually realizes the relationship is costing more than it's giving. Walking away hurts, but losing herself would hurt even more. That's why she chooses authenticity over approval every single time. 9. She trusts that the right people will stay. The Sigma female doesn't believe she has to convince the right people to remain in her life. She believes relationships should feel natural. Healthy friendships don't require constant chasing. Healthy romantic relationships don't depend on one person doing all the emotional work. Mutual respect creates mutual effort. She understands that life naturally filters people. Some arrive to teach lessons, some remain for years, others quietly leave. Instead of resisting every goodbye, she accepts that not everyone is meant to stay forever. This doesn't mean she never misses people. Of course she does. She remembers the good moments. She feels disappointment. Sometimes she even wonders what might have happened if things had turned out differently. But she doesn't allow nostalgia to convince her to return to relationships that were no longer healthy. She believes the people who genuinely belong in her life will make the effort to remain part of it. And she gives them the opportunity to do exactly that. 10. She knows that self-respect is more valuable than temporary attention. At the heart of everything is one simple belief. The Sigma female would rather protect her self-respect than receive temporary attention from someone who isn't fully invested. Attention comes and goes. Validation fades, even attraction changes over time, but self-respect stays with you. Every time someone repeatedly begs for affection that isn't freely given, ignores their own boundaries, or accepts treatment they know they don't deserve, a small piece of that self-respect begins to disappear. The Sigma female refuses to let that happen. She understands that walking away may leave her temporarily lonely, but chasing someone who no longer values her would leave something much worse, a constant feeling that she abandoned herself. She refuses to trade lasting confidence for short-lived reassurance, because she knows that the strongest relationships are never built on desperation. They're built on mutual appreciation. Conclusion: people often misunderstand Sigma females because they confuse quiet confidence with emotional distance. When a Sigma female stops chasing someone, it doesn't necessarily mean she never cared. In many cases, it means she cared enough to recognize when the effort was no longer being returned. She understands that relationships cannot survive on one person's determination alone. They require honesty, respect, trust, communication, and above all, mutual effort. She isn't looking for someone to constantly pursue. She's looking for someone willing to walk beside her, someone who chooses the relationship just as willingly as she does. That's why she doesn't waste her energy chasing people who have already started walking in the opposite direction. Instead, she continues building her own life. She invests in her goals, she protects her peace, she strengthens her confidence, and she trusts that the people who truly value her won't require endless persuasion to remain part of her journey. In the end, the Sigma female doesn't refuse to chase because she's heartless. She refuses to chase because she has learned one of life's most valuable lessons. The right people never have to be convinced to treat you like you matter.